Thailand speaks for itself. The land of smiles, kind locals, amazing food, stunning landscapes. But to me, it's also the land of ghosts and folklore. Thailand is a country where the spirit world and the living world walk side by side. For most Thai people, ghosts aren't just campfire tales, they're part of daily life. The unseen has its place among the seen. I've already explored this fact in a few videos here on the channel. If you haven't seen those yet, I'll leave a playlist in the description so you can watch them after this one. But for now, let's go straight into tonight's account. It comes from an American woman named Jessie from Dallas, Texas. In 2018, she'd gone to Thailand to volunteer at a small farm in the countryside, hoping for a bit of adventure and a taste of a slower, simpler world. What she found was something entirely different, an encounter she still struggles to explain, one that left her wondering where the line between the living and the dead truly lies. This is her story. I was a 22-year-old college student from Dallas, Texas, and I'd never been outside the United States before. When most people spend their summer break at beaches or parties, I wanted something different, something real. I found a website where travelers could volunteer at farms and hostels in exchange for accommodation and food. Thailand sounded perfect, beautiful, spiritual, full of color and kindness. I thought I'd spend my days under the sun, learning to plant rice or feed chickens, and my nights gazing at the kind of stars you never see above a city. I arrived in Thailand on May 15th. Bangkok was overwhelming in every sense. Beautiful chaos wrapped in heat and sound. The smell of fried garlic and holy basil filled the air. Monks in orange robes walked among luxury malls, and the traffic, even though it was heavy, it was so peaceful. No one honked at all. I stayed for 2 days, visiting temples and street markets, still trying to believe I was really on the other side of the world. On the third morning, I took the train west toward Nakhon Pathom, the neighbouring province and also one of the oldest cities in Thailand, where Buddhism arrived around the 8th century AD. It was an old, slow train with open windows and a low mechanical hum that seemed to match the rhythm of the countryside rolling past. Vendors walked the aisles selling grilled chicken on sticks and iced coffee in plastic bags. I remember thinking how warm everyone looked, smiling for no reason, as if joy and peace was just something that floated in the air here. When I finally arrived at Nakhon Pathom train station, I booked a Grab to take me to the farm. The driver, a young guy with a kind face, didn't speak much English, but when I showed him the address, he grinned and said, "Ah, farmland, it's very good." Before weaving us out of town and into the open fields, he took the main highway, and after 30 minutes he turned onto a frontage road. The road narrowed, then turned to dirt. The sun was sinking, and the air smelled like wet earth and lemongrass. When we arrived, a group of people were waiting by a wooden gate, waving at me like they'd been expecting a long-lost cousin. That was my host family, and that was so cute of them. Marley, the eldest daughter and studying nursing, wore her hair tied in a neat bun and spoke softly but with authority. Noi, younger and livelier, had an easy laugh and immediately helped me with my backpack. Their parents, May Ploy and Pa Somchai, May is mother in Thai and Pa is father respectively, were warm and gentle. May Ploy had kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled, and Pa Somchai's hands looked like they'd worked the soil all their life. Auntie Sang, the mother's sister, stood in the doorway chewing betel nut and humming an old song that never seemed to end. That evening, we all sat down for dinner. The food was simple but delicious. Grilled fish straight from their pond, rice noodles, ground pork, and a traditional Thai papaya salad that made my lips burn. Marley turned to me and said, "Jessie, tomorrow you start small work, okay? From 7 to 11, not too hot." I nodded, happy to have structure. What kind of work? Clean house, helping garden, Marley answered with a grin. After, free time, can sleep, read, or you go explore our village. Pa Somchai, who had been mostly quiet, said something in Thai to Marley, and she translated to me. Jessie, you can use motorbike, small motorbike. Just careful. Drive left side road. It's not America, okay? She giggled. I laughed nervously. I'll try not to crash it. Thank you so much. He smiled, revealing a few missing teeth. Noi then told me, Father said, no crash, good karma. The family laughed together, and the sound filled the warm air. We were trying to understand each other, and we were having fun with silly things. After dinner, May Ploy showed me my room, a small wooden space with a fan, a mosquito net, and a view of the rice fields stretching into the horizon. She handed me a folded towel and said softly, shower, shower, giggling with her hand covering her mouth. Marley and Noi showed up and said goodnight to me. I lay in bed that night, listening to the soft hum of insects and the rustle of palm leaves outside. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, then fell silent. Now there was only the sound of cicadas. It was hot inside the room, but not unbearable. The fan was working fine, and I thought to myself how strange and wonderful it felt to be here, half a world away from Dallas, with strangers who already felt like family. Life was so slow, and people were so kind. I asked myself, do I really have to come back to the States? The rooster crowed before sunrise, and the faint light slipping through the curtains told me it was already time to start. I dressed quickly and followed the soft sounds of pots clanging and voices murmuring outside. May Ploy was already cooking breakfast over a small gas stove. The smell of garlic and jasmine rice drifted across the house. She smiled when she saw me, said something cheerful in Thai that I didn't understand, then pointed at the table where a plate of fried eggs and rice waited. Marley joined soon after, her English careful but kind. You sleep good, Jessie? Yeah, really good, I said, stretching. I think I heard frogs and cicadas all night. Marley laughed softly. Yes, this is normal. Noi appeared, hair tied up and phone at hand. She spoke in an excited tone, and her English was smooth. Come, I'll show you what to do. My chores were simple, sweeping the floors, helping Auntie Sang wash vegetables, and watering the small patch of garden behind the house. Later, when the sun grew higher, we moved to the fields. The heat was already climbing, but everyone worked with such a calm rhythm that it felt almost meditative. By 11 they stopped. No more, said Noi, wiping sweat from her forehead. Too hot now. Jessie, you rest, and we go lunch. I sat with the sisters under the shade of the mango tree, a soft breeze rustling the leaves. We talked about Texas, about what snow felt like, and I showed them some pictures about what Thai food in America tastes like. Not real Thai food, Jessie, not good, and they both laughed. That afternoon, I decided to explore a little. Noi handed me the keys to the family's old motorbike and said, drive slow, okay? Road not perfect. I rode through the narrow lanes, passing wooden houses, fields of rice shimmering in the sun, and children playing barefoot near the irrigation ditches. The wind carried the scent of basil and wet soil. The horizon stretched endlessly, green and gold under a blazing sky. But after an hour, I realized there wasn't much else to see. No cafes, only one temple nearby, one average supermarket, and one 7-Eleven. It was just farmland, all the way. It felt like time had its own rhythm there, until that very night. On the fourth evening, around 6, I'd just finished washing the dishes when I remembered I was out of protein powder and coconut water, and I wanted some snacks. The little 7-Eleven near the main road was only about 7 minutes away by motorbike, so I asked Auntie Seng if I could borrow it for a quick run. She waved her hand apologetically and said something in Thai. Marley translated, smiling. Auntie already take motorbike. She go visit friend. I hesitated. Oh, that's fine. I can walk, right? Noi looked up from the TV and frowned. You walk now? 6 already. It's okay, Marley said, shrugging. Still light. She just go and come back quickly. Then turning to me, be careful, Jessie. Some dogs on the road. Step very heavy to scare snakes. Use flashlight, okay? Got it, I said, grabbing my phone. The sky was painted in gold and soft pink, with stunning shades of purple when I stepped out, the fields whispering with the evening breeze. The road stretched ahead, quiet, empty. Halfway down, I saw him. An old man stood by the edge of the asphalt, hands clasped neatly behind his back. He was staring at me with an expression that wasn't quite friendly, but not hostile either. Just fixed. His clothes were plain, a light cotton shirt and dark trousers, the sort of outfit older Thai farmers wore every day. I slowed down, unsure what to do, and gave him a polite why, the small bow of the head with pressed palms I'd learned from the sisters. You normally do this to older people or authority figures like doctors and teachers. He didn't return it. He didn't move at all. Only that faint, knowing smile stayed on his face as his eyes followed me, unblinking, while I walked past. For a few moments, I felt oddly self-conscious, like I'd intruded on something private. I told myself he was just curious. A white woman walking alone through his village probably looked strange. Rural Thailand wasn't used to outsiders. It wasn't like I was on Khao San Road or anything. Still, something about him felt really out of place. I tried to shake it off and kept walking until the soft glow of the 7-Eleven sign ahead, the hum of the store's air conditioning breaking the stillness of the countryside night. The 7-Eleven was colder than I expected, its air conditioning sharp after the damp heat outside. I took my time, trying to shake off the strange unease from earlier. I browsed the aisles, picked up my drinks, and smiled politely at the cashier. When I stepped back outside, the warmth hit me again, but the air had changed. The sunset had faded completely. The sky was now a deep, bruised indigo, and the fields around me had dissolved into silhouettes. The insects had fallen quiet, not gone, but hushed. The few streetlights along the road flickered weakly, throwing out cones of pale light that barely reached the edges of the rice paddies. Between each light was darkness, thick, uneven. I started walking faster, holding the small 7-Eleven bag close against me. I had to turn on the flashlight of my phone because the streetlights were very far apart. My footsteps echoed on the cracked asphalt. Every few meters, I glanced over my shoulder, though I wasn't sure why. Nothing moved behind me, just the empty road, glowing faintly in patches of orange light. I thought to myself, I was just being paranoid. This isn't America. Here, only a snake can harm you. Then, about halfway home, I froze. There he was again, the old man, right by the roadside. The same pale cotton shirt, the same stiff posture. His face had changed, no longer smiling. His expression was hollow, sunken, eyes lost somewhere behind the surface, as if he was staring at something that wasn't there. And yet somehow I felt his gaze pressing on me. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then, with a trembling hand, he lifted one arm, slowly, almost painfully, and pointed across the road. I followed the gesture. There was a small wooden house there surrounded by a canal, half hidden behind banana trees, its windows completely dark. The only light source, I thought, was a candle or a very dim lamp, but I couldn't tell if the house was abandoned or someone was sleeping inside. When I looked back, the old man's face had changed again. The faint sadness had deepened into something heavier. It wasn't anger or grief. It was something pretty disturbing, something like pleading and nervousness. My chest tightened. I could hear my own breathing now, uneven and too loud. My hands felt cold despite the heat still radiating from the pavement. I forced myself to move, offering a polite smile and a quick nod, as if he were just another villager. I looked away and kept walking, faster this time. My eyes stayed fixed on the narrow beam of light from my phone. But then, crunch. There was the sound of gravel shifting behind me. I slowed. The night seemed to have stopped. My pulse pounded so loudly I felt it in my ears. I heard footsteps getting louder and louder. They weren't steady either. They came in uneven bursts, like someone walking too quickly, too erratically. I gripped the plastic bag so tight the handles glued into my skin. My legs moved on their own, quickening until I was almost jogging. The sound followed, closer now. I turned my head slowly. When I glanced back again, my vision blurred with fear. The light flickered, and for an instant I saw him, just ahead in the dark, his body stiff and twitching, as though the world wasn't keeping up with his movement. One moment he was far down the road, the next, closer, too close. I didn't think, I just ran. My heart hammered against my ribs as I turned the corner toward the farm. The road seemed endless, my breath ragged, the sound of my sandals slapping against the ground drowned by the pounding in my ears. I didn't dare look back again, not once. By the time I reached the gate, my legs were shaking so badly I nearly tripped. I stumbled inside, slammed it shut, and sprinted toward the warm glow of the house, where laughter and the faint sound of the TV still played. I didn't realize I was crying until I pushed the door open and the sisters' faces turned from surprise to alarm. The sisters jumped from the couch, their laughter cut short mid-breath. I could barely speak. My throat was tight, tears spilling down my face. Molly reached me first, her hands gripping my shoulders. "Jessie!" "What happened? What happened?" I tried to answer, but the words came out in fragments as I sobbed. "Old man. Road. Following me." Noi's eyes widened. "Who? What man?" Before I could explain, the room plunged into blackness. The TV went silent. The hum of the fan died, and for a second, I thought my heart had stopped too. The only sound was my ragged breathing and the sharp chirp of crickets outside. May Ploy's voice rose from the back room, quick and worried, followed by Pa Somchai's low, steady rumble. A drawer opened, something metallic clattered. I stood frozen near the doorway, my body trembling uncontrollably as the sisters fumbled for candles. "Generator," Marley whispered, her voice trembling as she struck a match. "Maybe problem with generator." May Ploy hovered near the door, listening to the muffled voices outside. Neighbors calling to one another, dogs barking down the road. Noi leaned close and translated softly. "She say maybe something happened with electric in village." Marley crouched beside me, her tone gentle but strained. "You okay? You see someone?" I nodded, still trying to catch my breath. The sisters exchanged a glance, quick and uneasy. Noi tried to smile, but her lips trembled. "Maybe drunk man," she said. "Maybe just want to talk." But even she didn't sound convinced. Outside, a strong wind started to blow. The candlelight flickered, stretching the shadows across the walls. May Ploy returned to the porch to speak with the neighbors, while Pa Somchai muttered to himself, checking the flashlight batteries. Inside, the sisters kept close to me, their voices low and nervous, trying to talk about anything else. Noi's friend's wedding next week, the neighbor's new cow, a recipe for mango dessert, but each time the wind brushed the window or a branch scraped the roof, the conversation died again, and we all turned toward the sound, waiting for something that never came. The night pressed tight around us, and the house seemed to breathe with us. It was a slow, uneasy, alive breath. May Ploy stepped back inside, her face shadowed by candlelight. The gossip outside had turned somber, quieter now, and when she spoke to the girls in Thai, her voice was low and deliberate. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Something serious has just happened, and it wasn't good. Noi spoke in low voice, translating hesitantly. May say, old man, die, heart attack. Near his house, I felt a cold shiver crawl up my arms. Marley, looking pale herself, unlocked her phone and scrolled quickly through her feed. To show you, she murmured, and turned the screen toward me. I couldn't believe what I saw. At that moment, the world seemed to tilt. It was him, the same wrinkled face, half smiling, the same white shirt she'd seen under the moonlight, even the same house on the road. She could recognize the trees behind it. I couldn't breathe anymore. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. My vision swam as my hands began to tremble uncontrollably. I could hear my own voice, small and broken. That's him. I saw him. He was standing there. Marley and Noi looked at each other, their faces drained of colour. Noi's lips moved as if to pray, but no sound came out. For a moment, no one spoke. The candle flame flickered violently, as though stirred by invisible breath. May say, he good man, very respected, kind heart. Maybe he not know he go yet. He very stubborn, he love his family, and maybe don't want to go. The room stayed still for a long while. Then Noi leaned forward and placed a hand on my arm. He will not follow you, she whispered. He just wanted to be listen. He not understand what he is. Outside, the air crackled softly, and with a faint electric hum, the lights flickered back to life. The sudden brightness felt unnatural. I blinked so hard that my eyes were stinging. When everyone began to move again, May Ploy tidying the candles, Pa Somchai muttering from his room, the sisters whispering in Thai, I found myself too shaken to be alone. Then what was left of my voice came out small. Can I sleep here tonight? I pointed at the girls' bedroom door. Marley nodded instantly. Of course. They spread a thin mat across the wooden floor and laid out blankets from my room. I laid between the two sisters, my heart still hammering, and my eyes fixed on the soft light that glowed from the corner of the room. The house creaked as it settled into the night. Crickets resumed their endless chorus. I closed my eyes, but the man's face lingered behind my eyelids, smiling faintly as if waiting to be understood. The last few days I spent on the farm felt quieter, heavier somehow. It wasn't that anything bad happened again. No strange sights on the road, no voices in the dark, but the air had changed. The mornings still came soft and golden, with the smell of rice fields and damp earth rising with the mist, but I could sense a sort of watchfulness in everything. Even the wind that rustled through the palm leaves sounded cautious, as if it too was remembering what had happened that night. It was almost peaceful, almost like something unfinished still lingered there. Marley said the villagers spoke of the old man's funeral later that day. They said his son had returned from Bangkok to make arrangements, that the monks had performed the rites, that everything was as it should be. They also said the village shaman came to bless the house and felt the presence of the old man. He didn't want to move on because he was worried about his wife, children, and grandchildren. He had this great sense of responsibility and didn't want to let them alone. On my last night, we had a feast together, roasted duck, rice, and squid skewers. The conversation drifted between English and Thai, light and easy. The girls asked me if I was going to remember them and to introduce me to any American man looking for a Thai wife. It was very playful, of course. "Are you sure you want an American man?" I laughed. "Jessie! Bring American man to my sister! Mum wants Farang Thai children with cute round eyes." She giggled joyfully. "Stop it, Noi!" Marley laughed nervously and slapped Noi softly in the arm. Farang is how the Thai call Western people, by the way. We all laughed and giggled. When I thanked them for everything, May Ploy only smiled. She said something I didn't understand, but her tone was warm and final. Later, as I packed my things, Noi came to my room with a small white string. "For protection," she said, tying it softly around my wrist. By morning, the light had returned to its usual softness. The family gathered to see me off. Pa Somchai carried my bag onto the motorbike taxi, and May Ploy pressed a small parcel of sticky rice and barbecue chicken into my hands. Noi waved until the house disappeared behind a curtain of dust. As the road wound through the fields, I looked back, half expecting to see the old man's figure, but there was nothing there. As the motorbike turned the corner, I found myself back in the present moment. I arrived in downtown Nakhon Pathom and got a train to Chumphon, rattled to life with a deep, metallic groan, and I watched the fields blur into green and gold through the open window. For 6 hours, there was nothing but the rhythm of the wheels, the smell of rain-soaked wood, and the sight of palm trees bending in the wind. I thought about how quiet and mysterious the countryside had been, how, even in its simplicity, it had shown me something vast and ancient, something that didn't need words to be understood. From Chumphon, on the next day, I caught the ferry to Koh Tao. The ocean stretched endlessly around me, a glassy expanse shifting from turquoise to deep blue. The island appeared like an emerald rising from the sea, small, hilly, wrapped in jungle. I spent my first day walking barefoot along Seri Beach, the sand hot underfoot, the air tasting faintly of salt and grilled seafood. Tourists laughed, reggae drifted from beach bars, and for the first time since that night on the road, I felt fully awake again. After Koh Tao came Koh Phangan, then Koh Samui. Each island had a different rhythm, a different dream. I swam, I read, I sat on empty beaches watching storms roll in from the horizon in the evening. My time in Thailand was almost over, and I realized I didn't want to be back. When I reached Phuket for some island tour to Similan Islands, and then my flight back to Texas, I felt strangely calm. On my departure day, I went to the airport. Airports are always a blur of noise and movement, but I moved through it as if half elsewhere, my mind still somewhere between those green fields and the candlelit room where the sisters slept beside me. I will never forget that trip to Thailand, not only because of its beauty, the temples gleaming like gold under the sun, or the smell of lemongrass and rain, but because of what it revealed to me. How fragile the boundary is between what we call real and what we cannot explain. How life and death might share the same road. And sometimes, for a brief moment, we catch a glimpse of the other side.